Hey folks, Jason Bronner here, Fireside Chat with the Bourbon Redneck. Special guest.
Can't get through it.
Special guest, my business partner, John Morrison, co-owner here at Bourbons Bistro. We're never in the same place at the same time. A lot of people think we're the same person, but we're not. There's actually two of us that have been here a little over 15 years. So we're gonna have a chat with my business partner.
Well, we drank a lot of that together, played a lot of golf together, and it all kind of came together, and this came about. But the conversation started back in 2001.
So how we met? Well, we had a mutual friend that I went to high school with, and John ended up working with. A good friend of ours named Chris, politely known as Fathead. But other than that, we played a lot of golf together and conned him into getting into the restaurant business.
Well, my background's more operations, different industries, and then in '99 I left the company, and I pretty much vowed not to go back into corporate world. And that's about the time that Jason started talking about this, 2001 or so, and then it came together from there. Opened in 2005. We were
newbies for sure.
Yeah, probably a little more educated than most back then, but back then nobody was really educated in early 2000.
Heavily interested in bourbon for sure.
Heavily interested. Took a class together.
Mike Veach's class. That was back in 2001, I think.
Yeah.
Took a class from him at Bellarmine. It was like a 6-7 week class.
Yeah. And then the education came from the distilleries back in the early days, because they were begging to come in here when we first opened. So we had access to the great minds of the big distilleries, from Jimmy Russell to Jim Rutledge to Chris Morris to all the
Van Winkles,
all the guys. The Van Winkles were in here. So that's where the initial education came from. Jason's taking it to a different level. So, you know.
Yeah, we did bourbon dinners, and people were coming by. We would book a different distillery every month. So we'd have the head of the distillery or master distiller usually in here, because nobody was doing it and spreading their word. So collectively, we heard a different story every month from a different distillery, and kind of culminated that all together into what we're doing now. So. Great story about Jimmy Russell. Love him to death, and he's kind of the patriarch of the family now, of the what used to be the five families, or the distillery people. I mean, he's getting on in age, and he's definitely the southern gentleman of it all. He said, "We're gonna go." I said, "Who are we going to see tonight, Jimmy?" And he said, "Who's this Cool Play? Going to see Cool Play." So maybe we can date it. And it took me a minute to figure out who he was talking about. He was talking about Coldplay. So whenever Coldplay was big, I don't know how many years they've been around. It was kind of when they first came out and hit it big, and so that's the only way I could date whenever that time would be. It's within the last 15 years is all I can get to.
Yeah.
Did you go to that concert with them?
Yeah, we went.
I didn't end up not going, but
I did
the before and after. But
I went to the Cool Play concert.
I went to the Cool Play concert.
And I went to another concert with Jimmy, which was did you go? You went to that one?
The Police or Churchill Downs?
Churchill Downs. Went to the Police, and we had one of those booths upstairs in the kind of the Jockey Silks or wherever, and all the people were out on the balcony, and Jimmy was definitely sitting inside. Him and Jaretta sitting inside. Kind of, it's a little loud out there, but how cool to come in and sit at Churchill Downs and have a bourbon with Jimmy Russell and his wife. It was just unbelievable. Great people, and just while we're talking about Jimmy, we've got our single barrel that we just picked over the summer. Just now came in, so we've got a single barrel Russell Reserve. It's 110 proof. It's fabulous, and we sell this here at the restaurant. So.
Jimmy is a guy who could come in and talk, and the old E.F. Hutton commercials. When Jimmy talks, people listen. He was that kind of person. The biggest character was probably Freddie No. He would come in.
He goes by
and
Fred now.
And he could Fred No. Yeah.
It was Freddie back then.
Freddie back then.
Now it's Fred.
But he could just, he could stand up on a stage and do 20 minutes of stand-up pretty much. Every other word was inappropriate, but it was always good information, and it was always funny. So those two guys were probably my favorite. But Jim, they're all great. Jim Rutledge was the longtime master distiller at Four Roses, who was a very big influence on being part of what we started. Four Roses and Bourbons Bistro back in the day were really tight. So Chris Morrison, Woodford, all of them. So they're all great.
Yeah, it's hard to pull out any one story of those guys because there's tons of stories. And I love the E.F. Hutton reference. I don't know that a lot of people are going to know that one.
You have to be of a certain age.
Right, you have to be a certain age. But no, they all have impacted my life in different ways. And it's all great. I mean, I consider, I wish I could, consider Jimmy Russell be kind of like a dad to me. I mean, he's just such a great old guy, and Eddie Russell kind of like a brother, and Jim Rutledge is like his teacher. Chris Morris is a great friend, and the Van Winkles, good buddies. Love those guys. Freddie No, I mean, geez, what can you say about him and his son Freddie, who's come a long way, and I've recently met Freddie, the younger Freddie, and just strike up a conversation just like me and his father. So all great people. I think the one that I really hated not to meet was Booker No.
Yeah.
Never got to meet Booker No. Yeah. And I had very little contact with it's going to drive me crazy, Parker Beam. I would have really loved to seen Parker before he passed away, but the Beam family, all Craig Beam, they're all good. They're just all great people, and it's a good community to be a part of. It really is. Come get your bottle of Russell's Reserve and come hang out at Bourbons. And once again, it's all about the story. So we'll talk about some stories, have some stories. Everybody, I know that I'm usually on the face of the thing, but these guys around here, John, especially my business partner, has been running operations for 15 years. So there's a lot of people behind the scenes here that you might not see, and we got to come and have a toast to all those people as well.
Yeah, we've had a lot of great employees, long-term employees. Margot's been here since day one. Our chef's been here several years, and all of our former employees over the 15, almost 16 years have been the key to this whole thing. So cheers to those guys.
Yeah, this year we're going to put the pandemic behind us, and hopefully soon we're all going to be back to normal and have a great year this year. 2021 is what we're looking for. So cheers to 2021. Thank you all for listening and tuning in again.